Hey Stoic friends, gather around and lend me your ears for a moment that could redefine the very fabric of your existence. Imagine this. The clock strikes 5:58 a.m., and in the pitch-black veil of night, your eyes flutter open abruptly. In that fleeting, crystalline instant, you hover precariously between two diametrically opposed realms. On one side lies the boundless expanse of dreams, where you reign supreme, untethered by limitations, soaring through infinite possibilities like an eagle in endless skies. On the other looms the unforgiving gravity of reality, bearing down upon your chest with the relentless force of a massive stone sarcophagus, entombing your aspirations before they've even stirred. That razor-thin split second, just before full consciousness seizes control, marks the inception of a profound internal conflict, a war not waged against the shrill beep of your alarm clock, nor against the drudgery of yet another Monday morning, but against an primordial beast that resides deep within your marrow, murmuring insidious temptations in a voice as smooth as silk, yet as destructive as poison. "Stay here," it coos seductively. "The bed is warm, enveloping you like a lover's embrace. Nothing out there truly matters anyway. Why bother?" This insidious whisperer, this ancient saboteur embedded in your very bones, has single-handedly obliterated more dreams, ambitions, and potential futures than the cumulative weight of every failure, setback, and catastrophe in the annals of human history. And in this precise moment, as you lie there suspended in limbo, it's gaining ground, inching closer to victory with every heartbeat you hesitate. Consider Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who commanded the mightiest empire of the ancient world, yet found himself scribbling profound reflections by the dim flicker of candlelight amid the chaos of a devastating plague that ravaged his lands and claimed countless lives, including those closest to him. At the break of dawn, when the temptation to linger in bed feels insurmountable, remind yourself of his words. "I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain about if I'm going to do what I was born for, the things I was brought into the world to do?" These aren't mere platitudes. They're a battle cry against complacency. Now pay heed to what I'm about to impart, for the majority of humanity will traverse their entire lifetimes without grasping this fundamental truth. Your morning doesn't commence the instant your eyelids part. It ignites in those inaugural 10 minutes when your soul remains pliable, like fresh clay on a potter's wheel, soft, moldable, and ripe for forging into either a formidable weapon of purpose or a festering wound of regret and inertia. Statistics paint a stark picture. The average individual interacts with their smartphone a staggering 96 times daily, but the most insidious touch occurs within a mere 10 seconds of awakening. 10 seconds! You haven't even fully recollected your own identity, your name echoing faintly in the recesses of your mind. And yet you're already capitulating your nascent consciousness to a luminous rectangle brimming with the detritus of others' existences, their contrived problems, their polished facades, their meticulously curated deceptions designed to elicit envy or distraction. Meanwhile, dispersed across this vast planet, a rare cadre of individuals awakens to the same enveloping darkness, grapples with the identical existential burden and confronts the same archaic resistance. But here's where they diverge. They execute something profoundly simple, an act so elemental that articulating it borders on lunacy. They alchemize those initial 10 minutes into a hallowed ritual that transcends mere daily alteration. It profoundly recalibrates their intrinsic bond with life itself. These aren't ethereal ascetics perched on remote mountain peaks, nor are they privileged heirs indulging in spiritual escapism funded by inherited wealth. No, they're the unsung heroes of everyday life, single mothers navigating the gritty streets of Detroit, battling exhaustion and financial strain. Construction workers in Dallas, their bodies already aching from yesterday's labors. Teachers in obscure rural hamlets whose names fade into obscurity, yet who mold young minds with quiet dedication. Through trial, error, and perhaps a touch of serendipity, they've unearthed 5 distinct practices. Each one stands as a bold insurrection against the mundane, a fervent proclamation of hostility toward mediocrity. What follows isn't fluffy self-help drivel peddled in glossy bestsellers. It's a blueprint for self-revolution, a manifesto for reclaiming your sovereignty from the clutches of autopilot existence. These 5 practices may strike you as peculiar, even disconcerting at first blush. Your rational mind might scoff, dismissing them as whimsical or impractical. Your logic could erect barriers, insisting on evidence or efficiency. Yet it's precisely this discomfort, this friction against ingrained habits, that endows them with transformative potency. Before we embark on this odyssey of morning metamorphosis, I demand your undivided attention, your complete, unadulterated presence. Engage with this message not superficially, but as a solemn vow to your own evolution. Like this content not for external validation, but as a blood oath etched into your psyche. Subscribe, for this is merely the prelude to your profound transformation. Share it with a kindred spirit ensnared in the quagmire of their own despondent mornings. And under no circumstances should you fast forward or skim. Every syllable serves as a vital stepping stone across the turbulent river of personal change. Seal your commitment by affirming in the comments, "I wake up as a warrior, not a worrier." With that, let's plunge headlong into the fray. Number 1, engage in heartfelt dialogue with your pets. At precisely 6:01 a.m., as the world slumbers in profound silence, an extraordinary phenomenon unfolds in the modest apartment of someone like Michael, a everyman figure we can all relate to. He resists the siren call of his smartphone, forgoes the habitual scroll through news feeds teeming with global turmoil. Instead, he lowers himself onto the chilly linoleum of his kitchen floor and bares his soul to a diminutive 14-pound tabby cat named Aristotle. The feline, oblivious to the nuances of human language, gazes back with impassive eyes, indifferent to the weight of Michael's impending divorce papers or the emotional wreckage they represent. Yet Michael vocalizes his turmoil regardless, his voice fracturing in the dim pre-dawn hush. "I'm terrified. I'll never find happiness again." You might anticipate a pivot here to scientific discourse, discussions of oxytocin surges that foster bonding, cortisol reductions that alleviate stress, or peer-reviewed studies extolling the psychological perks of pet interactions. Dismiss that notion entirely. Allow me to illuminate the true alchemy at play when you unburden your unvarnished truths into the non-judgmental gaze of a creature bound by eternal loyalty, incapable of betrayal or gossip. Seneca, the Stoic sage, once penned, "Every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks truth turns from the new and seeks the old." Your pet embodies this antiquity, a bond predating spoken words, predating the constructs of civilization itself, rooted in the primal companionship that sustained our ancestors through ice ages and famines. In these pristine morning moments, conversing with your pet transcends mere communication. It becomes an exercise in radical honesty, the most unadulterated form accessible to our species. It's confession devoid of repercussions, absolution without the sting of judgment. Your dog remains blissfully ignorant of yesterday's professional debacle, your abrupt termination from a job that defined your self-worth. But when you articulate it aloud, when the words "I'm a failure" escape your lips amid her exuberant tail wagging, a seismic shift occurs. It's not a shattering of destruction, but a dawn-like breakthrough, where the ludicrousness of your innermost demons clashes with unbridled, unconditional affection. This paradox possesses such formidable power that it dismantles the self-sabotaging narratives you've internalized over years of societal conditioning. Observe the physiological metamorphosis as you engage in this ritual. Your shoulders, knotted like clenched fists from the previous day's tensions, gradually unfurl, releasing pent-up strain. Your respiration, once terse and fearful, evolves into a profound rhythm akin to meditative prayer. You're no longer merely addressing a pet. You're communing with the unscarred essence of yourself, the core that predates the world's imposition of fears, doubts, and masks. The ancient Stoics advocated for morning reflection as a cornerstone of virtue, but they overlooked a pivotal element. Solitary introspection within one's mind allows thoughts to distort, evade, and deceive. Verbalizing your truth to an audience devoid of bias, to eyes that reflect only pure acceptance, forces authenticity. Hearing your own voice confess what you've evaded compels confrontation. There's no hiding, no pretense, no performance art. In those vulnerable instances, as your cat emits a contented purr, or your dog's tail rhythmically thumps against the floor like a reassuring heartbeat, you're not simply inaugurating your day. You're enacting a rebellion against the cultural edicts that demand we polish our pain, format our fears into palatable narratives, and tame our truths to fit societal norms. This practice reclaims your narrative, fostering resilience by integrating vulnerability into strength. Over time, it builds emotional agility, transforming potential wounds into wellsprings of wisdom. Imagine extending this beyond pets, perhaps to a plant or a cherished object, but the living presence amplifies the effect, grounding you in reciprocity, however one-sided. Number 2, cultivate a spiritual interest. By 6:03 a.m., the ambient air assumes an ethereal quality, not merely composed of oxygen or humidity, but infused with untapped possibility, raw and amorphous, awaiting the bold to mold it into form. while legions remain comatose in their beds, captives to the deceptive allure of the snooze button's ephemeral reprieve. An enlightened minority engages in an act that, in bygone eras, might have been branded as sorcery or heresy. They pilfer fire from the divine before the deities themselves stir from slumber, igniting a solitary candle, not for aesthetic appeal or social media fodder, but as a willful defiance against the encroaching abyss that threatens to engulf their spirit. That tenuous flame, dancing precariously as it battles for sustenance, mirrors the soul's own tenacious struggle against oblivion. Epictetus, once the enslaved man who ascended to philosophical eminence, grasped a nuance about spiritual engagement that eludes contemporary motivational gurus. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This isn't a treatise on minimalism. It's an ode to the opulence derived from interfacing with the infinite before the finite world's demands besiege your awareness. Delve into what transpires when you nurture a spiritual interest in these nascent 10 minutes. Shun organized religion with its rituals and dogmas. That's for structured Sundays and communal conformity. True spirituality manifests on a Tuesday at 6:04 a.m. in solitary communion with the cosmos, where you confront the paradox of being simultaneously insignificant, a speck in the grand tapestry and integral to its weave. Practices vary endlessly. Some trace intricate sacred geometries in the swirling steam rising from their coffee mug, finding patterns that echo universal harmonies. Others meticulously arrange 3 stones upon their nightstand, one symbolizing the self of yesterday, burdened by past regrets, one representing the present self, navigating current realities, and one envisioning the emergent self, brimming with potential. The specific ritual holds secondary importance. The essence lies in your bodily declaration that this day shall not unravel haphazardly. You're seizing existence by the collar, demanding dialogue. We must confer on the terms of my participation. Alternatively, direct your gaze skyward and truly observe the dawn's chromatic symphony. Not a cursory peek, but an immersive vigil. Witness purple yielding to blushing pink, pink hemorrhaging into resplendent gold as nocturnal shadows retreat in defeat. This isn't passive viewing of a sunrise. It's active participation in resurrection. The daily rebirth of light from darkness. Your vision transforms into supplication, your focus into fervent devotion, your mere presence into an empowerment that infuses the mundane with sanctity. Or clasp a crystal, not out of blind faith in its purported mysticism, but as a conduit for intentional transference. For 3 minutes, channel every trepidation, skepticism, and toxic cognition into this relic of geological antiquity. The crystal itself doesn't mend. The deliberate act of offloading does, honing your attention as a weapon against impending disarray. Stoics term this cosmic sympathy, acknowledging our interwoven fate with the universe's rhythms. By embracing spiritual interest pre-dawn, you're not fleeing reality, but excavating its depths, unearthing the elixir of meaning that renders life's trials endurable. This practice fosters a sense of interconnectedness, mitigating isolation and amplifying gratitude, setting a tone of intentionality that permeates the hours ahead. Number 3, immerse yourself in absolute silence. Come 6:06 a.m., the world orchestrates its most cunning illusion, persuading you that silence equates to vacancy, quiet to mere absence, and stillness to lifelessness. This grand deception ranks among humanity's most pervasive fallacies, one we've internalized since infancy, amid the cacophony of cries and coos. Yet in the cavernous hush of early morn, you're poised to uncover why venerable emperors of old would barter their vast domains for a scant 5 minutes of unadulterated, pristine silence, a commodity more precious than gold or gems. Marcus Aurelius, ensconced in the bedlam of battlefields rife with agonized screams and the thunder of clashing steel, inscribed, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." These weren't flowery verses, but pragmatic strategies for enduring the ceaseless skirmish within one's psyche each dawn. True silence isn't defined by sounds void. It's the amplification of all you've evaded, the undercurrents of emotion, thought, and essence bubbling to the surface. Endure it for 10 seconds, and your mind revolts like a flailing swimmer in turbulent waters. Persist to 30, and suppressed anxieties surge forth like acrid bile. Breach the 1-minute threshold, and you'll comprehend why multitudes prefer the superficial distraction of scrolling through banal images of acquaintances' meals rather than confronting the majestic cathedral of inner consciousness that silence unveils. Yet should you persevere beyond that initial tumult, as your thoughts writhe like beached fish upon awareness's shore, a transcendent shift ensues. Silence ceases to be barren and burgeons with plenitude, brimming with latent potential, latent authority, and a lucidity that renders monumental choices as intuitive as breathing. Your autonomic nervous system, long commandeered by digital pings and verbal clamor, reverts to primal equilibrium. Respiration aligns with archaic cadences, predating articulated speech. Your pulse harmonizes with something ancestral, echoing the universe's inaugural throbs. You're no longer merely seated in quietude. You're plunging into the quantum expanse, where ideation materializes, where volition forges destiny, where authenticity supplants facade. Ambient noises persist, the muffled mirth from a neighbor's television seeping through walls, distant sirens howling like synthetic predators, the refrigerator's monotonous drone chanting its mechanical incantation. Yet you remain an unyielding pinnacle amid the frenzy, permitting it all to flow through you unimpeded, like gusts through barren branches. This is modern insurgency at its zenith, the steadfast refusal to engage reactively. Each tick in that silence fortifies what Stoics dubbed the inner citadel, an impregnable bastion of serenity impervious to external assaults. No superior can infiltrate it. No former lover can mar it, no financial ledger can acquire it, no phobia can undermine it. Constructed incrementally in pre-dawn obscurity, mortared with stillness that evokes divine envy. Upon reopening your eyes, the external landscape endures unaltered, but your internal topography has undergone revolution. You've savored the nectar of unadorned existence, an addiction that irrevocably alters your paradigm. Number 4, Gaze outward through the window and bask in sunlight. At 6:08 a.m., as multitudes succumb to the synthetic azure glow emanating from their devices, those audacious enough to pivot toward the window partake in a primordial rite. Not a fleeting peek to gauge meteorology, but a purposeful homage to the sole deity that manifests unfailingly each morn. The sun, that colossal thermonuclear forge adrift in cosmic void, adorning the firmament with hues no pixelated display can emulate. The inaugural photons pierce your retinas, igniting eons of evolutionary programming within your cranium. Your pineal gland, the enigmatic third eye venerated by ancients, halts melatonin secretion akin to a production line pivoting to daylight operations. But transcend biology. This is metaphysical transmutation, converting nocturnal haze into luminous vigor, somnolence into honed acuity, oblivion into vigilant empowerment. Seneca proclaimed, "Every man is in bondage to fear who depends upon chances for his happiness." Standing sentinel at that pain, permitting unfiltered solar rays to assail your visage before life's onslaughts commence, liberates you from caprice. You're synchronizing your biological chronometer with the infallible cosmic arbiter that has, across 5 billion revolutions, never shirked its duty. Sense the epidermal response as those beams caress your flesh. Not mere thermal comfort, but ancestral acknowledgement. Every cellular entity within you exclaims in unison, "At last, recollecting our stellar origins, you're composed not of obligations and liabilities, but of cosmic debris and radiant energy. The very constituents birthing nebulae and galaxies." This window ritual isn't solely about vitamin D synthesis. It's a direct uplink to the universe's primordial firmware. The vista unfolds as a gateway. Observe shadows recede like routed foes. Avian choruses erupt in jubilant anthems, hinting at concealed wisdoms. Clouds ignite in palettes that humble master painters. You're not a bystander to dawn. You're an active collaborator in existence's perpetual renewal. Your counterparts remain ensnared in slumber, their physiologies churning cortisol in anticipation of impending alarms. Conversely, you stand as a solar conduit, imbibing ethereal vitality before societal demands siphon your reserves. Your circadian cycles, typically tormented by artificial illuminations, reclaim their innate blueprint. You're not opposing your biology. You're arming it. Stoics advocated living according to nature, unaware of its literal biochemical implications. Dawn's light triggers neurochemical cascades, serotonin inundating synapses, dopamine pirouetting through neural pathways, yielding an euphoria rivaling antiquity's finest elixirs, untarnished reality. By 6:10 a.m., you've accomplished what eludes most throughout the day: direct communion with life's source code, prioritizing celestial over digital, perennial over transient. Number 5, dedicate moments to creativity. At 6:09 a.m., with your neural pathways still supple from repose, akin to pliant clay awaiting the sculptor's touch, a sublime entity stirs in your mind's underbelly. Not your agenda or duties, but the inventive spark that erected monumental pyramids, adorned Sistine ceilings with divine visions, and composed symphonies evoking tears from Stoic soldiers. This dynamo dwells within you, confined by rote patterns, asphyxiated by pragmatism, yearning for liberation to detonate. The dawn intellect differs markedly from its midday counterpart. In these embryonic minutes, your prefrontal cortex, that autocratic overseer enforcing logic and repercussions, lingers offline. You draw from profounder strata, untamed realms where impossibilities perish and wonders gestate. Marcus Aurelius, amid epidemics and conflicts, committed quill to parchment. What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee. Yet he overlooked a vital addendum. Prior to hive service, affirm your transcendence beyond mere dronery. You're the visionary reshaping combs, questing novel blooms, improvising dances defying hierarchy. Seize any medium, a pencil on scrap paper, crayons on tissue, a digit tracing fogged glass. Render something, anything, not for acclaim or commerce, but as insurrection against mechanization seeking to mechanize you. Sketch spirals morphing into orbs evoking eyes, into gateways to realms where your aspirations manifest unimpeded. Or scribe, not correspondence or missives, but liberated lexicon, dialogue twixt dread and valor, epistles to yester-self's demise, a solitary phrase encapsulating your essence's resonant cry at dawn. Perhaps vocalize, a hum echoing osseous vibrations reminiscent of primordial peaks. Or sway in scant attire to cadences predating nomenclature, predating vernacular, predating cosmic fission into myriad fragments merely to savor your singularity. Stoics espouse premeditatio malorum, envisioning adversities. Counter with premeditatio miraculorum, foreseeing serendipitous splendor in liminal dawn, where reality bends to whimsy. This creative interlude isn't art production. It's affirmation of your creator status, a tempestuous force cloaked in humanity, masquerading as caffeine-dependent. The timepiece advances to 6:10 a.m. A decade of minutes elapsed, 600 ticks, yet you're transmuted. You've confided in purity, grazed eternity, erected silent strongholds, imbibed solar elixir, birthed from void. You've not merely dawned, you've assailed mediocrity, triumphing pre-worldly engagement. These aren't gimmicks, they're alchemical transfigurations, morphing auroral dread into indomitable nowness. Aurelius cognized it, Seneca embodied it, Epictetus disseminated it. They're dust. You're vibrant with morrow's dawn, an unsealed cosmic missive. The query, dare you embrace the eccentric, the anomalous, the dawn oddity whilst others slumber through rebirth? Affirm readiness via likes. Comment your vow. Disseminate to the somnambulant. Subscribe, Genesis beckons. Echo. Tomorrow at 6 a.m. I wage war.